Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Gaming News at Noon with Salty and Boom. I am one of your co-hosts, Mr. BoomStickXL, and with me, as always, the saltiest gamer. What's going on, Salty? How you feeling, dude?
Good morning, everybody. I'm feeling good. I got my caffeine. I'm ready to go. We got some great topics, and we have a lot of them. So, without further ado.
Yeah, we have to jump right into this because, folks, we have 22 plus topics, lots of great news. It's all over the place. If you love PlayStation, you got it. If you love Nintendo, you got it. If you like Xbox, you got it. If you like third-party stuff, you got it. We're here to provide a service of the best gaming news while you eat your ham and cheese sandwich. Or, of course, if you're in different parts of the world, you might be eating dinner or even breakfast. So enjoy it, take some time off, and get ready for the best news in gaming. Anyway, let's start off with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And I love the fact that the team at Respawn is confident about what they're doing. And Salty, we haven't seen much, okay, to be honest. We saw a little bit, but Respawn has a fantastic track record. And here are some of the quotes that I pulled from an article from one of my favorite sites, Gaming Bolt. And talking to the director, Amusin was very confident about the upcoming title, calling it something really, really fun before saying that he's confident we're on to something. He continues to say, "We're a mashup crew, and that is an understatement, but everyone has a really high pedigree. When I came into to work every day, I can feel the vibe. I can feel the energy in the studio, and I actually get my hands on a controller and I can see what we're making. Something that's really special, something that makes me feel great. And it also proves to me that we are on the right track. I am super confident that we're onto something." And recently, Salty, Chris Avalon, who served as the writer for Fallen Order, spoke quite highly of his experience working with Amusin, saying that he has a really solid vision for what he wants the game to be. So, Salty, with all of that said, there's a ton of confidence coming out of Respawn, and of course, the devs that are working on this incredible original Star Wars story. What are your takes on this, and how excited are you for this new adventure?
Well, you know me, Star Wars is up there, kind of neck and neck with gaming. I don't know. I'm just a big nerd. You know what I'm saying? Like comic books,
Nothing wrong
Star
with
Wars,
that, dude.
all that stuff. So we're due for some good Star Wars lore, and especially since this is connected with the whole universe and everything, and it's going to be canon. That's what excites me, because before you could get some stories and they're written up, and maybe they weren't, for the most part, they weren't canon in the extended universe, but like the games that we're getting and any kind of TV shows, those are all connected. So for sure, in this time period, it's exciting, because if you're fans of the prequel, if you're not fans of the prequel, I mean, there's still connections that can be made to all the movies, which is nice. And then plus the new movie is going to be coming out, and I think we're really going to find out some things about characters. I heard Barriss might be in there. She was
Nice.
so she might be one of Vader's minions to go hunt down some Jedis. There's some interesting rumors out there. I'm sure they're going to try to make some surprise appearances by characters. I just know that, I don't know, from what I saw from the trailer, and you can only take so much from a trailer, let's be honest.
Of course.
But what I saw, it just sets it up to have a really good storyline, because I don't know, if I put myself in that position to be a Jedi in that world, and to have your training, to want to help everybody, like, because that's what the Jedi do. You know what I'm saying? You're just supposed to help people and use your force powers for good. But all of a sudden you can't do that, because if you use your force powers, you'll be exposed and potentially hurt other people or yourself. That's an interesting dynamic, and to see how they exist in that world. Darth Vader exists in that world. It's just it's a period of time that has just not been explored that much, and I just think it's exciting. And Respawn's on it, and even though they said that it's kind of a mashup crew, I feel like if they have synergy and they work well together, it doesn't really matter. I mean, they all went to school for this stuff, and they've worked on stuff, I'm sure. But I like what they're saying about it, and honestly, what Chris said and everything else, I have faith. I don't know if it's blind faith because I'm a fanboy, and I just this is our last hope when it comes to EA and trying to get a good Star Wars game.
Yes, it is.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. This is one of the last hopes for Star Wars fans, honestly, for a great single player narrative video game, kind of like The Force Unleashed. I just have high expectations, maybe too high, but I don't know. I'm going to be positive on this. Glass half full for once. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then just, hope for the best, and we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be good. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I'm glad that we only have to wait to the fall. Real quick, before we move on to the next topic, which is, of course, keeping with the Disney theme, Biggie 2316 with the outrageous $5 super chat. Thank you, Biggie. He says, just wanted to stop by, hit the like button and show support. I will be catching this later tonight while at work. Have a great day. Well, thank you very much, dude. Enjoy your day. Of course, be safe, and thanks again for the outstanding support. Talking about Star Wars, and you have to talk about Disney. And when I talk about Disney, you have to talk about Marvel. And Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3 just continues to make me freaking get goosebumps every time I watch a video. Game Informer, who is one of the few last Mohegans, if you will, in proper journalism, has been showing off tons of coverage for Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3. I pulled this story for, again, Gaming Bolt, another fantastic, real journalistic site. Yesterday, some cool, awesome information broke. They revealed a couple of new characters. First of all, Miles Morales is in it, which is awesome, and his gameplay looked bananas. You also have Spider-Gwen, who's going to be in there. That's another new character to the series. Awesome. And Miss Marvel, not Captain Marvel, but Mrs. Marvel, will be making her debut into the Ultimate Alliance 3 roster. I got to tell you, I watched the video, Salty, 2 times, and I started to watch it a third, but I kind of just I pumped the brakes, because as much as I want to see everything going on, I don't want to see everything going on, if you know what I mean. And July is going to be here soon. July 19th, more specifically. And, I urge people, and I only say this about sites that I care about, that I use for myself for these shows. Game Informer is one of those particular sites. If you're interested in this game, if you have a Nintendo Switch, if you're thinking of getting a Nintendo Switch, go look at the gameplay. My goodness, it's incredible. Salty, I know you're a Switch freak just like me. How pumped are you for Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3, and of course all of the new information that's breaking?
This trailer, it was outstanding. Like, if you look at it, it's the stylized graphics, the character models, they look like the MCU, some of them, like Gamora, she was looking interesting. Like, some of the characters, you like some James Gunn influence with the Guardians look and the way that they're moving and acting. Some of the characters in the game obviously aren't, so they pick and choose, but I think they did it the right way. Like, the Hulk looked like the Hulk before he got dumbed down for Avengers. But I'm just excited to have the narrative in this universe with all these characters, because you kind of forget that all of them exist together, because like you get in this MCU realm and you have certain characters that you've grown accustomed to seeing on screen, but in the comic books they're all rolling together just like this. And I've said it many times that, man, comic book games just aren't utilized in the industry right now to where they should be. Like, we got a great Spider-Man game on the PlayStation, but other than that, in Batman games, like, what can we hold our hats on when it comes to some of these comic book games? And that's a shame, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's so much story there, obviously, so many good characters, and I still want to pinch myself because I don't know how Nintendo made this happen, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 exclusive on the Nintendo Switch. Like that alone is crazy. And then the fact that you can play it on the go, play it wherever you want. It reminds me of good old days back when I was playing the X-Men video game by Konami back in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So that was like 4-player co-op or whatever. But in this game, you can have 3 AI players with you, and you can have some people jump in with you, and the circles there, and you have abilities, and you choose characters, and that just brings back really good memories with that game. I played the shit out of that game it's called Peter Piper back in the day. It was like across the street from where we were, and I would just go in there and play that game. I played Mortal Kombat back in the day, so it brings good memories, and I'm just this is by far one of my most anticipated games for 2019, the rest of the year. But there's so many games left that are going to be coming out, and surprises and stuff like that. But the narrative's cool, man. The Infinity Stones are involved.
The Black Order, which is great. Thanos and his crew. Yep. Oh my God, it's going to be awesome, dude.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, listen, this is again, if in my opinion, and I listen, I've been gaming a long time, so I kind of see trends. You're an analytics kind of a guy. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily know how more popular the Nintendo Switch could be than it already is, but with this game coming out as an exclusive, expect consoles to be flying off the shelf. And if Nintendo is who I consider the Disney of video games is smart, they will work out some sort of a special edition console with this game where the controller looks like Spider-Man or if it does, I'm telling you right now, if it does, you can better believe that if I have to get on the freaking side of her like a hooker, I'm going to figure out how to get this custom console should they make that announcement at E3. But let's move on to the next topic. I can see the chat now. Hooker boom. I could just see it. Hashtag hooker boom. It's terrible. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, let's talk about Wolfenstein developers' Machine Games. And, listen, whether you like big shooters and guts all over your screen or you don't, and that's cool, they came out and they said they have an idea that they want to be the ones to tackle the Quake franchise, which has been laying dormant since 2000 and I think it was 2005 when Quake 4 launched on the Xbox 360, which was an amazing game back in those days. Now, with everything that they have done with Wolfenstein, I could only imagine the epic story, these giant bosses, the bigger and better guns. Listen, I'm a big Quake fan. I don't really care for Quake Champions because it's a multiplayer it's a multiplayer shooter. All right, it's you versus the world. It came out on August 23rd in 2017. It's been doing very well, and of course, it's running off the Unreal Engine. It looks amazing, but to take Machine Games and just hand them the reins and say, go crazy with Quake, a franchise that no one has been talking about. My goodness, it could be amazing. Salty, have you ever played a Quake game? More specifically, do you want to see Machine Games tackle and take a crack at this very unused franchise?
Well, hopefully you guys can't hear it. There's a leaf blower going ham outside my window.
We don't hear it, thankfully.
I love this time of the morning, like without fail. Anyway, punctuality. Quake, surprisingly enough, if you guys listen to me on my videos, like I'm a first person shooter type of guy, man, but I don't know what it is. I've never played a Quake game. I didn't get into it. I know there's tons of people that got addicted to Quake back in the day. I think Joe Rogan was like hella addicted to Quake back in the day. Like he was paying ridiculous amounts of money to have his internet hooked up right and stuff like that. But yeah, I've never been a Quake dude, but I know there's a lot of people out there that do play it. I think UK Daz was playing something similar to that, or I don't know. There's a lot of people that are fans of it. So yeah, like if they brought this back and did a good job with it, there's a lot of people out there that are fans of the Quake series. So I think it would sell well. I think it would do well. And I don't know. I'm just fans of the developer, and I think that they would do a good job, honestly. I think it's a perfect marriage. And if it happened, I think it would be a good thing for the industry, honestly.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm a big first-person shooter. I'm a big ID fan. Obviously, right now I am completely in love with Rage 2. We're not going to get
Yes.
too much into it because I have a big topic set up for Breakfast with Boom. But I'm advising you, everyone that's listening now, everyone that will be eventually listening, do not pay attention to these hack sites that are touting sixes for this game. Again, if you think it's a 6, it's okay, not a problem. I'm not going to fight with you. It's your opinion, but do not go based on user scores or Metacritic. They are wrong. I am telling you, they're wrong. But let's move on to the next topic.
Real quick, shameless plug. I did a quick impressions video.
Oh, cool, dude. Nice. Talk about it.
Yeah, of Rage 2. I don't give any scores or anything, but I give my honest opinion of my first impressions generally. So check that out. It's not going to tell you whether or not you should buy the game because ultimately that's subjective for each person.
It absolutely is. Correct.
I am clearly honest in my opinion, so go check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, good on you that you did a video, and great that you just publicized it because you should get out there. He puts a lot of work into his videos, and obviously he's closing in on 4,000 subs. So if we can get him to 4,000 for the arrival of his new one, that would be something else. 2 things to celebrate. So let's get on that. But let's talk about the next topic, dude. Predator Hunting Grounds was shown off at State of Play. And of course, when the game started, it said not actual gameplay, which was not surprising. And that's fine. It's coming to the PlayStation 4 exclusively. Sony is involved in the development of that. And that's fine, because if it's good, I will buy it. In 2020, by developer Ilphonic, makers of the very unimpressive and bug-related and delayed content, Friday the 13th, which was a multiplayer game. And in truth, I'm going to be honest, I'm slightly concerned by the developer, not the brand. Friday the 13th is remembered for a lot of things, Salty. Being a good game, unfortunately, is not one of them. I'm sure people had fun with it, but the game was a buggy mess. There was delays out the yin-yang. There was polygon tearing going on a regular basis, even with the updates. Listen, the 4v1, the 4v1 genre didn't last very long. And I don't know if it's going to be able to work with the Predator franchise, but I am going to say that I'm a huge Predator fan, have enjoyed all of the movies except for the last one, which was horrendous. Oh my God, it was so terrible. Thank you. But here's the thing, Salty. Charles, I think it's Bergnot, who's Ilphonic's chief executive, said that the game has one group of players that will control a fire team that packs conventional firepower. And of course, one player is going to use or assume the role of the Predator. And of course, it's going to be a 4v1 kind of a game. But even though on paper, it sounds interesting. I'm not going to lie, because it's the Predator. I mean, that's an amazing underused IP. But the Ilphonic is just not a good developer, dude. And,
Nope.
You have to go based on their, this world is all about what you did for me lately, right? I think it's fair to say that. So if you're coming off a poor title, the expectations for your next game aren't going to be like, oh my God, this is the greatest developer since sliced bread. We got to get on that. What are your takes on Ilphonic's development of this game? And do you think this is going to be one of those PlayStation 4 exclusives that they tuck away and don't talk about?
All right, here's the deal. They're trying to capitalize on a big name and a big brand like Predator, okay? I looked at their history, and it's not one of a storied past. They started up in 2012, so they haven't been around that long, and they've made games like Sonic Boom, Rise of Lyric, nothing. Like, I'm looking at this. Nothing of note here besides Friday the 13th. And Friday the 13th was a mess. Okay. So when you're looking at history of what these companies can do, these developers can do, you want to kind of see something that proves to you that they could do like something of note, which they haven't. So yeah, they made Friday the 13th, and it was big off of basically something that people really hadn't experienced. It was Friday the 13th, which has a huge following, so that got people on board. But this genre in general, where you have one person hunting other people in a game, it's very, I don't know, it sets itself up for failure because it's very repetitive. It's I don't know, it just doesn't fit well with a game that costs $30, $40, $60. In my opinion, if you're going to do something like this, you got to make it free to play. It's the only way this kind of game works because of how quickly people can get tired of it and how many issues that it potentially could have. I mean, take all the issues out of it where the game wasn't even working and the servers weren't working. If you had the game function right, it's a Predator game. In my opinion, there's not many people out there that are going to just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to throw down whatever amount of money. If you made it free to play, it would get more people in there. It would increase the population size, so the matchmaking would be faster, and then you could make it so where people could get cool, I don't know, costumes, outfits for the Predator or the people that he's hunting. That could work in my opinion. But if they try to come out and say, I don't know what kind of price point they put on there. How much was Friday the 13th? I didn't buy it.
I think it was $30. And actually what I wound up doing is I was a backer of that game. And I actually was a $50 back where I got 2 codes.
Mm-hmm. So whatever the price is, even if it's $30, I still think it's too much because, like I said before, if there's consumers out there, they're kind of on the fence and they're like, man, I want to play this, but I don't think I'm going to play it that much. If you make it free to play, then you up your player base, right? It helps the game. But I know they're probably not going to do that, and it's probably going to be it'll probably be $30 or whatever based off of their previous game, and it's just not going to do well. I don't see a lot of people buying it, and probably is going to have issues like the previous game did because there's nothing to tell us otherwise. Yeah, and this game will just fall out, into the darkness, and everybody will just forget about it. You know what I'm saying? That's
I mean, you talk about price, Salty, and that's a great point because I actually didn't even have that in the show notes, and I kind of want to touch on that for a hot second. You're saying 30, I think it's going to be 40, simply because the Predator license carries some serious weight to it. Jason from Friday the 13th, great character, classic character, but it's a character that hasn't been used. Predator just had a movie, and you know what I'm saying? It wasn't a good movie. In fact, it was a freaking terrible movie. If you want to see a good one, see Predators. With that Robert Rodriguez directed. Fantastic film. The new one, not so much. But with that said, I think it's going to be $39.99. And if it's going to have issues, server issues, screen tearing, characters getting stuck in trees or falling through the world, listen, they need to prove to us that they could do it. All we can go is on what they've done before, and it was Friday the 13th, and that stunk. Sorry, I'm not a developer. I don't know shit about game development, and I know it's hard, but a bad game's a bad game, and that was a bad game. So let's move on to the I told you so story of the week. And I think right now, because I of course send the show notes to Salty in advance, he's smiling from ear to ear. The PS5 release date and price update is double bad news for the next generation PlayStation fans like us, and here's why. According to a story that I pulled from Express.com, PlayStation fans better start saving for the release of the PlayStation 5 in 2020 because it's going to be $500, according to a Japanese analyst who has been tasked in the past and has been correct in his predictions regarding this. But what makes this even more funny is not only have Salty and I been banging the $500 drum for what's going to be an amazing piece of tech, but it's going to be an expensive one, is when is this console coming out? And I know, Salty, I know you're chomping at the bit to get this. You said November. I said November. More specifically, we originally said fall, but then we agreed on November. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, this is what this guy is saying. We obviously know the chips aren't going to be ready until the middle of 2020. The production is going to take some time. So it looks like it's lining up for a November 2020 $500 price tag. Are you happy to say I told you so?
Man, I'm always happy to say I told you so, but Anyway, like when we're looking at this, man, I have to go back and get the tapes for everybody, man. I could be an analyst in the field here, but all right. So we're talking about when this console is going to be coming out. Even when you give the facts to people, because I made a video about this as well, shameless plug. But
Nice.
in my comment section, you could tell people that Sony said specifically when they came out with their earnings call, they said it's going to be at least a year. You could tell people that and they're gonna be like, oh my God, it's coming out fall 2019, mark it down. It's going to be $400. It's just, some of these people see the sun shining and they're like, oh man, and it's not shining. You know what I'm saying? They'll stare at the sun and be like, oh, it's not shining. It's one of those things. Like you could tell people until you're blue in the face, certain things, but they don't want to believe you. Some of these things that stand out to me is this dude, Hideki Yasuda. He works for Ace Research Institute. Yes. He's made some predictions before, and he's been on the money with them. So there's a lot of things that prove the points that he's talking about. You kind of put the breadcrumbs together. It's like a trail leading you up to what you want to find out. The statements by Sony, when the chips are going to be ready by AMD, the price point, the specs that were revealed by Cerny, the SSD drive that's in there, the power of the system. So you start adding those things up and you're like, okay, so it's not going to be coming out in 2019. It's not going to be coming out in the summer. And then you just start adding it all up, right? The chips aren't going to be ready till Q3. It just makes sense that this is going to be coming out the holiday season, all this stuff that he's saying. And then the price point, like I was saying, I was putting this out there. I said, because when people were saying spring of 2020 and then $400 price point, I wasn't buying it because I was like, all right, so you're putting all this stuff in the box. Yes. It costs all this money, and then you want the price to be low. You want it to be $400 for some reason, because people hold on to this whole PlayStation 3 thing where you need to get a second job and $600 price point. But if you look at like the way money is today, it's not the same when money when it was the PlayStation 3 was coming out, and then the cost of tech and everything else. And then the other thing that I kind of question about this whole thing is the responses of some people. If they're asked, hey, if the PlayStation's $500, are you going to buy it? Yeah, I'll buy two. That's a great price. I mean, if it's high tech, I'm going to get it, right? And it's like when the Xbox One X came out, I remember that day clear as day, right? What's his name leaked the price? What's his name?
Yeah, Jeff Keighley.
Jeff Keighley leaked the price, right? Before the show, like an asshole, right? And he leaks the price. It gets out in the media. Everybody's like, oh my God, $500. Nobody's going to buy that. That's a fail. Anything over $400, nobody's going to buy it. The Xbox One X is dead in the water. What happens? The Xbox One X sells very well, better than projected, better than expected. So yeah, you can't tell me that PlayStation's not seeing what the Xbox One X did and how successful that was, and what they're pushing out with 4K and the way the visuals look, and tell me that didn't affect their thought process going forward with the PlayStation 5. Plus not having the power for this long. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So yeah, $500, it's gonna happen. I mean,
there's too much technology,
right? Yeah. So you want a good GPU, you want a good CPU, you want good RAM, you want an SSD
drive.
Yeah. Would I like the console to be $100? Sure, but that's pie in the sky stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Tech costs money.
Well, I mean, listen, dude, it's when you talk about what the Xbox One X has been able to do in regards to matching the price of the 500, and mostly now you can find it for $4 if you're a savvy game buyer. You can find it for $4 with usually 1 or 2 games, sometimes even 3, and you match that with what it would cost to run on a PC. It's double, triple the price. So I don't know what magicians they have at Microsoft. Yeah. But Sony has Mark Cerny. Now, Mark Cerny, he is a bit of a tall tailor. I mean, I think the guy has a Fables business on the side where he writes, children's book that have tall tales, but he's a genius nonetheless. and he's running what Sony is going to put in the PS5, and it's going to be expensive and it's going to be top notch. So your PS5 is going to be amazing, but you have to pay for it, folks. I'm sorry to break the news to you. You said it, Salty. Technology costs money. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just like everybody that wants all this. I know a lot of people don't really know what the stuff that they're talking about. Like we start talking about teraflops and everybody's talking about flippity flops and RAM and SSD and people throw out like terms and stuff like that. And I understand it's fine. But go look at prices for GPUs. You know what I'm saying?
Ridiculous.
Like with the teraflop predictions and stuff like that, just GPUs alone, go put them in a cart with the CPU and an SSD and this and that. It starts adding up, and it's okay. They get a discount, right? Because they buy it in bulk. But come on, people. I mean, they
can only get it so cheap.
Yeah, we're not too naive right here, right? Things cost money, so.
Well, listen, it's going to be interesting. All I'm going to do is I'm going to do a shameless plug, very much like my co-host here. Tomorrow's Xbox Factor podcast, I wrote an original. It's almost 3 pages in length. I'm probably going to have to cut a little bit because it's so detailed. But I'm going to talk about the PlayStation 5's pricing and how Microsoft is in the driver's seat in regards to how they're going to let this play out. Tune in for that tomorrow with of course, my other co-host, the Welsh Gamer. That, of course, will be at noon as well. But let's move on to the next topic. And, Saints Row has been a title that went from a GTA gangster clone to which actually was my favorite because it played a lot like Crackdown and you were like a superhero, which I thought was awesome. But it's making the rounds again. And there's an announcement possibly being teased by Deep Silver. And of course, I pulled this story from Gaming Bolt, where I get most of my stuff from. The publisher wants us to keep an eye on their official YouTube channel. Now, look, Saints Row has been dormant since the DLC expansion Get Out of Hell, which came out 4 years ago in 2015. And publisher Deep Silver has tweeted out to make sure that you watch the Saints Row YouTube channel, saying that they have exciting news for the Saints that is incoming. This doesn't say a lot, obviously, but I mean, I think it's safe to assume, Salty, that we're going to get a new game. Now, that's where this gets interesting. Obviously, the series went again from a GTA clone, where you're doing some real GTA like stuff in the Saints world, to you flying cars out of planes and flying, knocking buildings down like a superhero. But the question I have for you, Salty, is at this point, okay, and this is a bit of a spoiler, so if you haven't beaten Saints Row 4, I'm going to ruin it for you. I'm telling you right now, so plug your ears. When they're done with Saints Row 4, the Earth is gone. It's exploded, okay? It's decimated. There's no people left except for what's on the ship. Obviously, they're not going to go to another planet, but it's Deep Silver, so they could. But with that said, Salty, do you think this is the time where they actually just kind of like hit the reset button on Saints Row, which is a great franchise, maybe make it the GTA game that it was supposed to be and just start fresh?
All right, I know a lot of people in the podcast realm like to talk out of their ass on shit they don't know about, but Saints Row, I've never played a Saints Row, so I couldn't really tell you, Boom.
Okay, all right, not a problem.
What I'm saying? But this, for some reason, it didn't speak to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is, but I don't know if it's the developer or the game itself. Maybe there's just too much games going on, so I'm just gonna pass on the topic. I do think that lots of people like the game. I don't know. There's fans out there, so
yeah. It does have a niche kind of a fan base to it. I'll actually answer the question if anybody in the chat is interested. I've been a big Saints Row fan. I beat 1. I didn't beat 2, but I beat 3. Saints Row the Third might be the best of the 3, but I really enjoyed 4. I enjoyed Get Out of Hell. It was ridiculous, silly fun, but I enjoyed it. To be fair, I don't want them to try and copy what Rockstar does, because Rockstar is Rockstar, and they're indicative of their name. They're the rock stars of the industry. But I really would love to see a reboot, a more serious tone, a more adult themed, Saints Row. So I'm hoping that that's where they go, because the wackiness, I don't know how more wacky you could possibly get, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Outside of what you were, flying around, and the fact that you went to hell and you beat up the devil. I mean, come on, folks, you can't get any more crazy than that. But listen, we're not gonna beat this horse. I want a new Saints Row, but I want them to reboot this franchise. I think everyone does as well. But Salty, this is a conundrum. This next topic. Platinum Games thinks that the battle royale genre is very interesting, and according to the studio head at Sushi Inaba, he's interested in possibly making a battle royale game. Now, look, before we go any further, I gotta have to say this right out of the gate. I hate this idea. There are way too many battle royale games on the market, and to be fair, Platinum Games is known for their story-driven single-player games. But this is where the story kind of takes a little bit of a left turn in Albuquerque. Speaking with VGC, Platinum Games chief at Sushi Inaba spoke of the battle royale genre, stating that the studio is interested in it, and that Inaba would personally be interested in seeing what their take could be on it. Now, this is where, again, it starts to get a little wacky. He mentions Apex Legends, so obviously they're looking at the money factor. Like, Apex Legends is making, big bucks. And this is what the studio director had to say. Yeah, it's very interesting genre. Quite frankly, I personally think it would be interesting to see what sort of take we could have on it. We wouldn't want to make something that's just shooting. With Apex Legends, the quality bar is so high that we wouldn't want to go in that direction. Trying to come up with something that's our taste in that genre would be very interesting, but they don't want to make a shooter. So I say, wait a second. You want to make a battle royale game, but you don't want to make it a shooter. Salty. What are we talking about here? What are they going to punch and kick people for 1 versus 100 kicking and punching people if there's no guns? Again, this sounds like a terrible idea. Platinum, don't do it, please, if you're listening. You don't listen to this show, but I'm going to throw it out there. Don't do it. Salty, what is your take on this craziness that Platinum Games is talking about?
It's funny, man. I always like to see, both sides of the coins in the debate here. So I'll take the side of, yeah, it could work out. No, I'm just kidding. Here's the thing. Everybody sees the golden goose that
yes, they do.
Battle Royale is, right? And honestly, I don't think like the startup for Battle Royale is too extensive. Honestly, I'm not a developer, so it is what it is. But you think about it, you're making this big map, and then you make the characters and whatever, and then you just you have the server, and then you kind of have to have a stable server there, and you let the players do their thing. There's not much, you don't have to develop a story. You don't have to pay voice actors for the most part. Maybe you could with Apex Legends. They have a little bit, but the cost is minimal from the return that you get in your investment. And that's why these people are saying, they're like, well, hey, I want to get on that train. You know what I'm saying? We could have a Dark Souls battle royale, or we can have a Nier Automata battle royale. I don't know what they were gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like, what would they do? Like hack and slash battle royale? Like, man, there's just so many people. They just want to have the next Fortnite. You know what I'm saying?
Thanaros in the chat said Vanquished Battle Royale. And I mean, that's with the mechs, but that's shooting. They say they don't want to go in the shooting aspect, which makes it even more weird. I don't know. I don't know.
Like, if you're trying to get into that market and that genre, first of all, it's hard. It's difficult. You're going to have to do something that works. And I've seen other people try to do this BR stuff with like Wizards and some other stuff, and it just doesn't work out. Like, the genre is what it is. Not everybody can pull off a Fortnite. Like I remember specifically when I heard Fortnite was doing their thing, because I was playing Save the World, and I was just like, man, these guys are desperate. They're copying whatever the other
PUBG at the time.
PUBG. I was just like, this is just a blatant knockoff. They had the bus, and they copied the wall and stuff, but it worked out for them. And then everybody else can't do this. You know what I'm saying? Apex Legends, they're still doing okay, but they're not doing Fortnite okay. And I guess
no one's doing Fortnite, dude.
Yeah, so I mean, could this work? Could a developer pull something out of the hat and just have it explode? Sure, but the chances of that happening are kind of slim, and then they're going to be taking resources and time away, potentially from a game that actually people would want to play. So who knows, man? It's just weird. I've heard Dark Souls developers say, "Yeah, a battle royale, something like that would be interesting." It's just like you hear all these developers talking about this, man, because they want a piece of that pie. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yes, they do. They see that these games are a cash cow, and I think that the market is oversaturated already. Listen, I'm going to say this. I'm not saying it failed. When it came out, it was good. But the Call of Duty, first of all, Call of Duty, the next one, supposedly is not going to have a battle royale because it probably didn't do as well as they thought. Okay. Which is why we're going back to actually having a single player campaign, which I will be buying the next Call of Duty if in fact that is true. But I don't know. Battle Royale is there are a few major players, and I think the three ones that you talk about, obviously Fortnite being number one, PUBG probably being number two, and of course Apex Legends. We don't need any more than that. That's enough for everyone. Even Call of Duty, you can drop in it at number four, but whatever. Platinum Games should not do this. To be a waste of millions and millions of dollars of development. I think it'd be terrible. Don't do it, Platinum. Stick to what you know. But let's talk about the next topic, Salty. New evidence suggests that The Last of Us 2 will be releasing in 2019. And I got to be honest with you. If this does happen, this could save the abysmal year that Sony has planned for its fans in regards to their first party development. Now, listen, Days Gone. I'm playing it. I'm enjoying it. It's a 7 from me. I'm hoping, and I have a big topic for Breakfast with Boom on why I think that Ben Studios deserves a second shot at redemption. There are a lot of things wrong with the game. The grinding is just, my God, it's so hard to level up in that game no matter what you do. It's frustrating. But with that said, we know that Days Gone is doing well, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And even though I like it, I don't love it, and that's fine. You have Dreams, which a lot of people are enjoying. It's $30 game, folks. So if you like, that Little Big Planet inventing your own game kind of a thing and playing others people's games, then it might be for you. But it's $30. Concrete Jungle looks amazing, but it's a smaller title. It might be a niche kind of 2 million people will buy it. I hope it does well. You have Medieval, which I'm going to buy it. It's $30. I'm going to buy it because I played the first one. It just does not look graphically that much better. I mean, it's better than the original, obviously, but it's just not. It's not the HD remake that I want, like a Ratchet and Clank, for instance. That was a masterpiece. So I'm going to buy it, but it doesn't look like it's going to blow up anyone's skirt, so to speak. But The Last of Us 2, on the other hand, well, then that's a horse of another color. And it could be a big boost to the fan base, who, of course, very disappointed with the lack of information that Sony has provided. And, of course, E3 is in a couple of weeks, and they're not going to be there. So it would be interesting. But according to the story that I pulled, Naughty Dog is hiring for numerous positions. And as revealed by The Last of Us 2 co-director Anthony Newman on Twitter, lots of awesome positions open to help us close out the game. And when he means close out the game, I'm assuming the game is pretty much done. All the motion capture is done. They're just putting it together, and they're tweaking it and making sure that it runs well. And I got to be honest, I'm looking forward, really, really looking forward to The Last of Us 2. But I don't know, Salty. I mean, it's again, we have to go with based on numbers. And if they're now hiring, this story is only 3 days old, so they just put out the jobs. Here you go, folks. We need people. Mm-hmm. If they're just putting it out now, you talk about it. To finish up, to make everything work, it's 4 to 6 months. Game development is freaking hard, folks. Okay, so 6 months from now puts us really close to the end of the year, and they still have to do those final touches, right? I still see of January or February or March 2020 release, simply because Horizon Zero Dawn launch there, did fantastic, right?
Mhm,
So did
mhm.
God of War. What are your takes on this? Do you think that this is something that's going to happen in 2019, or are you like me reserved and think that we're going to get this in 2020?
Man, I've been saying this just like I said a lot of other things, and you can mark it down, man. I'll take the L. I'll take a huge L. I'll eat crow, man. I'll do
You'll eat your hat.
here's the deal, man. I'm calling my shot, like I said, and I've heard a lot of people on board with this 2019 thing. And I think it's just going to be the same story that happened with the PlayStation 5 coming out in 2019. Because before all these stories came out, the PlayStation dudes are like, PlayStation 5's coming out in 2019, mark it down. And then, the news came out and it's not happening. So, yeah, The Last of Us, there's been lots of news. The mocap was finished, the actors were hugging, and they're still putting out job listings and stuff like that. And it would be weird to me to not have E3 and you're one of your biggest games, because people talk about it. They're like, well, if Last of Us 2 comes out, mark it down, it's game of the year. That's fine. But you chose not to have an E3, right? And I mean, at all. You could show whatever you need to. If you needed to have a shorter E3, that's fine. But if The Last of Us is coming out this year, I'm having an E3 for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to show what I need to show. And I'm going to put the trailers out there for The Last of Us, at least just for that game, man. If anything, because if that's your game of the year nomination and that's one of your biggest games, that'd be like Xbox not going and having an E3 and then just releasing Halo Infinite without any pop and circumstance. You know what I'm saying? No trailers, nothing. There's like, hey, we're just going to throw it out there. 2019 release, Halo Infinite. Yeah, we're not going to be at E3. Come on, guys. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. PlayStation had what they had this year. They said they're going to kneel down in their interviews, in their earnings call. They said it themselves, right? So. Yeah, I mean, Days Gone this year, right? Concrete Genie, Jungle, whatever you want to call it, that's coming out. A remake of an old game. The rest of 2019 is slim, right? And I've talked to people in my comment section, and we go back and forth. And I said, hey, they still have had a pretty good year. Days Gone has done well; it's sold copies, but it's just. This year is slim, and I think that's poor planning on PlayStation side. I said it myself. I think they could have took Spider-Man and moved it into this year and released it at the same time as Spider-Man. What's it called?
Endgame. Yes.
Either Endgame or put it next to the Spider-Man movie, Far From Home, right? Drop it right near that movie. Hype's huge. I know the game already did well, but then you would have a game in 2019, and potentially you could have even done E3 this year if you wanted to. But they put 3 games out, which were outstanding games, and they put them really close together, right? God of War, Spider-Man, Detroit. All those games came out in the same year. So then 2019, what do you have, right? So it's poor planning, but yeah, long story short, The Last of Us 2 is not coming out this year. Okay. So hand me the L's if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm bound to get something wrong. These analysts, so-called in the industry, get shit wrong all the time.
And they're paid for it. Right? We're not paid for it, Salty.
Yeah. So it is what it is.
I mean, listen, look, here's the thing. I'm excited for the game. I know Salty will eventually get around to playing it when he buys a PS5, because why should he buy a PS4 right now? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's circumstances that would it would be tough. So he has a Switch, he has an Xbox One, and he's golden. Look, if you're excited for The Last of Us like I am, I'm hoping there's some sort of a collector's statue, which I have the collector's edition statue. It's actually right above my head on my desk with Ellie and Joel, which is dope. It was actually the collector's edition from the PS3 because they didn't have a collector's edition for the PS4. And I love it. I'm hoping, and I'm almost positive they're going to do it, but Naughty Dog, don't let Boom down. He loves his collector's edition, and of course doing the unboxing, which is a lot of fun. But let's move on to the next topic. And look, Gaming Bolt is a source that I use more than most, simply because I love their editors. I love their writers. I love that they don't do anything with clickbait. The story is what it is. And another shameless plug for Friday's Breakfast with Boom. Salty, you and I have been very vocal about the media, and we have a lot of negative things to say about it, and for good reason. Well, in a surprising turn of events, I thought that instead of talking about how terrible the media can be, and they can be at times, I actually wrote an original piece that we're going to be talking about that is going to highlight the 5 and 6. I think it's 5 or 6. It might be 6 of the best gaming sites to you for anyone that's interested to get their gaming news from, that I use on a regular basis. I'm not going to give anything away other than one of them is Gaming Bolt, as you know, but I will be we'll be talking about that in a positive way, because Boom likes to be positive. It's it's unicorns and rainbows all day long for me. So we're gonna do a different spin. Instead of bringing out the torches and pitchforks, so to speak, we're gonna actually bring out balloons and rainbows for the 5 or 6 gaming sites that I use that I really enjoy. But I want to move on to the next topic, and I think this one is going to make you smile from ear to ear, Salty. According to Gaming Bolt, there is rumored reports that a new Dark Souls game will in fact be announced at E3. So now we say, well, wait a second. They're not going to have their own conference. No, they're not, because I'm hearing through the grapevine that this new Dark Souls is not only a multi-plat, but it's going to take up 10 to 15 minutes on the Microsoft stage at E3, where everybody wants to be because they are the big show. An anonymous leaker named Omnipotent, who has leaked correct information about From Software's games in the past, now claims to be in the know about the developer's next game. And in a post on the famous Reset era, the user has confirmed that From Software will in fact be announcing a new game at E3 2019. And while Sony's decision, bad one at that, to skip E3 2019, From Software is attending, and it looks like they're going to be teaming up with Microsoft once again, which they did with Dark Souls 3, if you remember. Look, there's no doubt, Salty, that with the sales of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice selling exceptionally well on the Xbox One, it's no surprise that the next Dark Souls, or if it's not Dark Souls 4, it's a new IP from them, it's just going to be on the Xbox, because there are still 45 plus million consoles, and it's still at least 2 to 3 million on that side, because it's a niche title that will run out and buy it. With that said, first of all, Salty, you're a huge Souls fan. You beat Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Congratulations on that. I know that you nearly broke your arm doing it with that last boss.
Yeah.
How excited are you for something new from Software?
Well, Sekiro was a good game, probably my favorite game this year, 2019. So that's saying a lot for that game. From Software is one of my favorite developers. It was interesting and very surprising to see Sekiro on the stage at E3. I was surprised when it first started showing. I was like, wow, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Because it broke the mold. Traditionally, the games that we're seeing on the stage at E3 on Microsoft stage, we didn't traditionally get those games on Microsoft stage. Yep. Like Devil May Cry, Sekiro, what do they have? Just a whole bunch of out of the box games. So yeah, is this rumor too far-fetched? I don't know. I don't think it is, but it's weird that they would be announcing another game just so soon after they just released Sekiro, and it's just it seems a little bit too soon for them. But maybe they're going to be doing a teaser, which would be nice, because they're always working on stuff, right? And they said that they were going to step away from the Dark Souls series for a while and work on other stuff. So yeah, it'd be good to see a new IP. Another one, because I think they're very talented in what they do, and just stepping away and playing a new game like Sekiro and going from Dark Souls, it was refreshing. You know what I'm saying? So they have the ability to try new things, and I think they will be successful at it. And it'd be nice to see this stuff on stage. Phil Spencer's been reaching out to lots of Japanese developers, so it won't be surprising to me to see more of that on the stage. But there's just so much time, you know what I'm saying? There's not enough time. There's for Xbox, right? They have third-party trailers that they need to show. They have first party stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how long this conference is. Is it going to be 8 hours? Who knows?
There has been talk about that. It's funny you should say that because I'm right there with you. I mean, with everything they have to pack in there, they literally can't take a breath. Like Phil Spencer is going to have to take a gulp of water at the beginning of the thing, take that 30-second take a knee for 30 seconds and come right back in, and start hitting the boards. I don't know. I'm hoping that the rumor of the normally they're a little over 2 hours, right? They're usually like 2:05, 2:07, 2:10. I think that because they are the main attraction for E3, right? I'm not taking away from anyone else. I'm saying that Sony's not there, EA is not there, right? Nintendo, we know what we have. When we talk about what they have lined up, which is interesting, but their Treehouse events they're pre-taped and they are what they are. Microsoft has an opportunity to shock the world, and I think shocking the world is going to require some big bombs, and you can't rush big bombs. I'd love to see a 3-hour show. I'm going to be honest with you. I know that sounds outrageous, but they are in the prime time slot. They are all eyes, all hands need to be on deck for this. The world is watching, and Phil Spencer and company, they know it. But with that said, I don't want to, beat the Microsoft horse. We have an Xbox show for that, which is going to be coming out tomorrow, and we have a lot to talk about then. I want to talk about Wolfenstein Youngblood. That is a game from Machine Games, who we talked about earlier, is looking like it's going to be massive. And when I say massive, I'm not just talking about the fact that they added co-op for the first time, which is dope. That means me and Salty could tear down Nazis as it sounds kind of weird, two girls, two twin sisters, and enjoy the hell out of that game. But you know what? According to an article that I pulled, it's gonna borrow a lot from Dishonored's open world, open-ended structure, which means there's going to be multiple paths that you can choose. And I kind of really think that that's great. That it's going to moving away from its, your very stout corridor shooter, giving the player or players, if you decide to play it in co-op, different paths to choose. And actually that's great, because if you're going to play the game multiple times, you might actually see something that you've never seen before on your second playthrough. I think that's dope. But in an interview for the official PlayStation magazine, Youngblood's executive producer, Jerk, and that's how it is. It's Jerk. Gusta.
What a name.
Yeah, well, try pronouncing the last name. It's Gusta Fasten. Gusta Fasten talked a little bit about the more non-linear structure that they're aiming for with the new game. And this is what he had to say. I think players will see a lot of similarities to the level design in Dishonored. So there's a sense of that could be found in this particular new game, where the benefit of being able to choose your own path is going to be something different for the player. It says, especially when it comes to finding different ways of approach to a combat scenario or a mission in general. He went on to explain that the non-linear structure the game is now built around made penning the narrative a little bit more difficult, which means that the story content is on the lower side compared to the other Wolfenstein games. Now, there's a lot of people talking about, like, for instance, Rage 2. It doesn't have, a novel-esque kind of a storyline, but it's workable. You know what I'm saying? You're a guy, you're a grunt, you got a super suit, you got to kill a bunch of people, you got to stop the end of the world. I'm okay with it as long as it has good gunplay, and Machine Games knows how to do that. Salty, the next Castle Wolfenstein looks like it's going to up the ante in a lot of big ways, especially with the co-op multiplayer and the branching paths. Are you excited? And what are your takes on what the director had to say about the game?
Yeah, on this show, I'm the salt, you're the sugar, so I kind of go counterpoint sometimes. Okay. But what I'm reading in this, I kind of read in between this, and for what you're saying, it's nice to kind of get a different take on it, to not be so much just linear corridor shooter, et cetera, et cetera. But what they're saying is, so the non-linear structure of the game is now built around less narrative, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's the con to me, because it seems like it's just going to be a lot fewer cutscenes, a lot less story, and a lot more gameplay, and that's cool for some people. Some people aren't about the story, but I enjoyed the stories in the first two Wolfenstein games, and it's a disappointment to me in that sense, because I thought they were really well done. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you get the co-op and you get the more open gameplay, but then you're losing out on the cutscene and in the story. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a direct reason. The reason why they did that is just it's cost. It costs money to do the cutscenes, the mocap, the voice acting, and all the other stuff. And then they chose to spend that money in other ways, or they're just saving money. But I saw something similar to this when they were doing this with Destiny 2, the way that they're putting out their DLC. They said they're going to focus more on getting the content out there, and there's going to be less cutscenes and story. I'm just not a big fan of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a fan of having story when it's necessary. And then when you're telling me you're going to cut it out, I don't know if I'm too much of a fan, but I think it's going to be cool. I think it'll be a good game. The co-op feature will draw me in. I don't know if it's a day one buy for me, but I for sure will be playing the game.
Yeah, I actually already pre-bought it. I bought
Yeah.
the bigger expansion. It wasn't a lot, but I think that it was not a big expensive game. I think I think it's $40.
Yeah, it's
Might even be,
$40.
yeah, it's $40. So I got the one that came with all the expansion pass and stuff, and I think it was like $10 more. So I got that one paid for. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm a big fan of machine games. I love Castle Wolfenstein. I like that this game is going to be a little different. I know that you're looking for BJ Blazkowicz. He's missing. So the fact that you take on, as his two daughters, allowing for co-op, I think it's going to be kind of cool. I'm hoping that the story structure is there. It's just not. It doesn't have to be as deep, and I'm okay with that as long as the gunplay is good, as long as the branching paths are excellent. But you know what? I want to talk about another developer in the next topic. Topic number 11. Insomniac Games. Actually, Sony Interactive is hiring developers to work at Insomniac Games on an upcoming exclusive. Now, of course, there has been talk about a new Ratchet and Clank, which, look, I'm going to say this, folks. If you like platformers, if you grew up in the Ratchet and Clank era, if you just bought a PlayStation 4, my God, please go out and support this title when it comes out. But more importantly, if you like Pixar games, if you like graphically intense, colorful, beautiful looking games, go pick up Ratchet and Clank for the PlayStation 4. I think it's about $20 right now. It is a modern day masterpiece. It is a retelling of the original. It's great. All I can say anything better than masterpiece is that it's one of my favorite games on the console. And you listen, if you like Ratchet and Clank, you're gonna love it. So when I heard that, I got excited, right? And then there's been talk about Spider-Man 2. I mean, come on, folks, that's a freaking no-brainer. Spider-Man was amazing, no pun intended. Spider-Man 2 is probably gonna be just as big. But then there was talk and there's rumors. Again, this is, Colin Moriarty, if you don't know who he is, he used to work with Greg Miller. They had that little bit of a breakup. He's doing his own thing. I like Colin. I really think he's a very, very intelligent dude. And I support him on Patreon because I really do like his stuff. He was talking about, more specifically, about the Resistance franchise, which, if you didn't know, Insomniac did. And Resistance won on the PS3. I think it was the PS3. Yeah, PS3 was amazing. So I'd love to see for them to reboot, or, because 2 and 3, they were okay. 1 is still the best in my opinion. But according to a LinkedIn post, Salty, Sony is looking to fill a position for a new unannounced game. And we know that Spider-Man, even though technically it's not announced, it could be it, right? But they have their own people. Ratchet and Clank is technically unannounced, even though we know that they're working on it. They have their own people. This sounds like it's for something new. And they're looking for a senior audio designer, and they're going to sign them to a fixed-term contract where they're going to be working on site at Insomniac Games in California. Of course, like I said earlier, I'd love it to be a new Ratchet and Clank or Spider-Man, but I would also love it to be a new original title by Insomniac because they're great. Salty, what are your takes on the fact that they're looking for this senior audio designer for an unannounced title?
Yeah, I've heard multiple rumors about a new Ratchet and Clank, so I wouldn't be surprised. It's interesting. Insomniac is working a lot with PlayStation. They have in the past. I don't know why PlayStation just doesn't kind of make them part of the fold at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe.
Well, you know what it is that the CEO. My God, what is his name? I can't forget his name. I was talking about him all the time. He's very adamant about staying independent. That's why, because they work toward. Yeah, yes. They want to stay independent, dude.
Okay, yeah. Well, they have a really good relationship. You know, Spider-Man did extremely well. I think they're going to kind of work on that, and that's going to be a while in the making. I think their next game is going to be Ratchet and Clank for sure. I've talked to multiple people. My good friend Ashtray, he loves that game. He's in love with it, man. It's one of his favorites on that system. He said, "Yeah,
fantastic."
When you get a PlayStation, play that game immediately.
Yes.
It's one of the funnest games out there. So yeah, dude, Ratchet and Clank, from what I've seen of it in video, looks amazing, man. Like you were saying, Pixar type quality in the game, just looks fun all around. So yeah, I think their next game that they're going to be putting out is a Ratchet and Clank game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope so, because like I said, the first one is amazing, and I would be all in. I don't care if it was a full $60 title. I'm buying it because Insomniac is amazing. Ratchet and Clank are, listen, the writing in that game is just phenomenal. But you know, I want to move on to the next topic. Oddworld Soulstorm. They just released. Now, if you don't know what Oddworld is, Oddworld Inhabitants is the studio that is leading the charge on this. Oddworld has been synonymous with PlayStation, the character himself is really interesting. I was a little shocked that they announced a new title, because a couple of years ago they released the original Abe's Exoddus, which was kind of a rushed put together title, which is a retelling of the original. It took them 9 months. And even the people at Oddworld Inhabitants said that the game was rushed. They were trying to get it out, and it did well. But I was shocked to see that we're going to get a new Oddworld at all, and it's called Soulstorm. And the new trailer dropped the other day on YouTube. I watched, and I got to be honest with you, man, I'm all in. I like Abe as a character. I like the world. It's it's a very it's a side-scrolling puzzle-esque kind of a game that has that 2D/3D feel to it. What I found interesting about this is that speaking with GameSpot, which is not where I got this story from, by the way, series creator Lorne Lanning had some interesting things to say about the long-running series. After we had the success of New and Tasty, we decided it was good to take our shot. This, of course, is coming from series creator Lorne Lanning during a recent chat about the new game Soulstorm. Do or die, he said. Put it all on the red and see if we can redo the second part as it was originally intended. A completely fresh remake that would reboot the Oddworld quintology back to its original big vision, the one that we probably weren't smart enough to execute at the time, but maybe we are now. That became Soulstorm. Salty, look, I got to be honest with you. I love when these directors are frank and earnest about development issues. Like, they had a vision, it didn't work out. They talk about it was rushed. I'm glad when they tell the gamers, hey, listen, the game developing isn't easy, folks, and they understand they made mistakes, and they're trying to fix it with the new title. First of all, have you ever played the Oddworld titles? And more so, if this released on all three consoles, because you use the Nintendo Switch so much, would you get a smaller side scroller on that rather than on your Xbox One?
Yeah, it's interesting looking back to Oddworld. It's one of the titles that stands out in my memory. It's odd. I remember playing Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey on Windows, surprisingly, back in the day, because you probably associate it with PlayStation, which it was on. But man, this game title has been all over the place.
It has, yeah.
It's been on PlayStation, Windows, Game Boy, Xbox. It's been on everything, man. So more than likely you've seen this franchise because it's been everywhere. I'm telling, it's just, this thing's bouncing from publisher to publisher, dude. I'm telling you guys. But I haven't played one in a long time. So yeah, it would be interesting for sure to pick it up on the Switch and play that on the go for sure. Because the character himself is just, I don't know, I wouldn't call him iconic, but he stands out in my mind.
He does. I agree.
There's like something about his character model. It's just, I don't know what it is. The mind works in a weird way. I just remember playing this back in the day. It was a long time ago, but 97 we're talking about here.
Yes. It's been a while, dude.
Yeah, playing this game and having fun times. Remember my friend came over and we played some of this. But yeah, like I think it would be cool, man. It's crazy that this is still going after that amount of time. But yeah, it's a fun little platformer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to. I mean, like I said, I played Exoddus. I new and tasty I have for the Xbox One. I didn't beat it. I played it probably about maybe 2 hours of it. Would love to get back into it. I know it was recently in Game Pass. I think they took it out a couple of months ago. But let's move on to the next topic. Hideo Kojima at it again, and he's teasing a new Death Stranding trailer. You know, I got to be honest, folks. You know, I talk highly about PlayStation and their first-party stuff because, quite frankly, I really and truly enjoy it. It's what I own a PS4 to play the games. I don't play third-party on that. I think that's, blatantly obvious. And this game has completely fallen off a cliff for me because, look, Metal Gear 1 is in my top 5 of all-time gaming, okay? Loved what Kojima did back in the days. This game has had so many ups and downs since he signed that exclusive deal with Sony. Where, I mean, we've heard reports, and we've read it on this show, Salty. People that are involved with the project don't even know. They said he's a genius, but we don't know what he's making. When your own people don't understand what you're making, I'm sorry. I cannot get behind this craziness. And, again, I don't say this to be disrespectful. I mean, obviously, he's a genius and I'm a boob, and I'm okay with that. I really am. But you can't keep, doing, they showed up in New York for that festival where I thought they were going to at least show a trailer. They just talked about the game, him and Redis. They basically didn't say much. All right. I read the article. There wasn't much there. And, obviously all we've really seen is cutscenes. We've seen the character walking across what looks like to be a desert carrying luggage, which you can be considered the FedEx delivery guy or the luggage simulator. With no E3 2019, this obviously has to put a serious strain on Kojima on how he's going to display this game, because now he's talking about, he's hinting, he's teasing a trailer, but what is the trailer going to be about? Are we going to see a baby in a backpack? Are we going to see, creatures we can't see? I don't know. Salty, look, let me just say this. Are you as fed up with the Kojima empty promises as I am? And should he just go away until the game is ready to come out?
Oh my God. Kojima, man. Every time I hear his name, I want to roll out a red carpet for the dude. You know what I'm saying? I need a gift for that. Because if you guys don't know, Salty's Gaming Podcast, shameless plug, Thursday night, every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We love the gifts, right? We love to throw them out. Every time we put up a Kojima topic, I'm gonna find a nice little gift for him. The red carpet's getting rolled out for this dude. The most overhyped developer in the industry. Some people think he's the second coming of Michael Jordan in the gaming business, but here's the deal. What is going on with this game? No one will know. I think you have to have a magic rabbit foot and rub it just right, just to know what's going on in this game, So here's the deal. If a trailer comes out, that's cool. If it doesn't, who knows what's going on with this game? I think there's been jokes on the internet that it's going to be a PlayStation 6 exclusive at this point. So this game is definitely not coming out in the foreseeable future because people in his own camp don't even know what's going on with this game. So it should be interesting when we do get a trailer if we actually know what kind of game it is, because that would be nice to start with, right? Because we need to know what the game is, like what are we going to be doing in this game. But yeah, I'm tired of hearing about it, man. For a while there, it was Crackdown 3 because we kept hearing stuff about it, and it got to a certain point where I was like, man, I just want the game to come out, and if you guys are still working on it, just work on it and then come out. Some of these games, they get this like I don't know. It's just the story of the story keeps going on and on and on and on and on for years, and then you just get tired of hearing about it, you know. So I just want to see stuff. I want to get a date for the game, you know.
Yeah, it'd be nice to actually kind of know what you're gonna get. Well, what kind of a game is it? Is it third person action? Am I shooting? Is it sneaking? Is it baby delivering? Is it baby watching? Do you get a you know, if you save all the babies, do you get a platinum for it? I have to know. I got to be honest. But let's move on to the next topic, because obviously Ghost Recon Breaking Point has made the news once again, and you know, I did a big topic on Friday's Breakfast with Boom regarding how incredible Ubisoft is as a developer. I think they are the creme de la creme, the crown in the jewel, or the jewel in the crown, so to speak, of this generation's development houses. I mean, there's a lot of them, but they just continue to impress. Ghost Recon Breaking Point is going to be an amazing game. John Bernthal is the ex Ghost turned bad guy, which looks very menacing. But you know, the one thing I have to say about Ubisoft is they did it with the Division 2, and they kept pounding on every interview as the end game. And that really, I mean, if you look at what the Division 2 has done, all they've prepared for, the main game themselves is amazing, but the end game is just as big or bigger than the main campaign, which is crazy. And they're talking about that for the new Ghost Recon game. And the developers at Ubisoft Paris, which is of course the studio leading the development on Breakpoint, shared some tidbits about new raids coming to the Ghost Recon franchise. And that's new. That's something that's never been done before. And they have 2 different interviews with the press. The first one was posted by US Gamer, and they spoke to creative director Eric Kuzin, who said, "We are very ambitious for the end game. The raids are part of all of the activities in the game. Yes, it's an end game activity, but since it's completely non-linear, it was important that you have these types of challenges that are extremely hard and especially made for co-op. So we've designed the island specifically for raids. It's a mini open world with several bosses in it. The island features a volcano, which had a dedicated team that only works on that particular part of the map, which is freaking bananas." And then he continues with, "We're hoping players see this in a natural step in evolution for Ghost Recon. The main things we want to offer players is freedom of choice and plenty of things to do. The main piece of feedback from Wildlands is that players loved it, but they wanted even more to do once they finished the main story," which I will agree. "This is just a natural progression for us. We're committed to many years," get this folks, "many years of post-launch content with Ghost Recon. So it seemed natural to us to that we should give a lot more challenge to those hardcore players who really want to invest in the universe." Now, look, let me just say this. I'm getting goosebumps live on the air reading this. I wrote this, and I'm getting goosebumps, folks, okay? Salty, I have to say, these are strong and extremely confident statements, and it makes me believe in their vision. I think Ghost Recon, the fan base itself, will also agree with that. What were your thoughts on Ubisoft's confidence and, of course, the end game content that they're promising? Salty, I think you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. It sounds like they're trying to get their players involved for the long haul. So for whatever reason in their previous games, the player base probably dropped off after they finished a majority of the main content. So if you have a robust end game, like the raids that they're talking about, that's going to keep your player base involved and keep the player numbers up. And that's important for these type of games, for the lifespan of the game, because they plan on on DLC and future content and cosmetics and all this other stuff. So yeah, but when I hear the word raid now, it makes me cringe because I was so invested in Destiny, almost too much, like the first one, and I just remember the headache that raids were, and that's just the 6-man raid in Destiny, and being just an old man now, an old fart on the porch here. I mean, I remember back in Destiny when I was playing these raids. Yeah, I just, that type of experience, like trying to get people together to do some challenging thing, and it takes forever to do it. I'm kind of out on that situation, but that's a me problem. But yeah, I think it's going to be good for this game because it extends the lifespan of the game, you know? So.
Yeah, like I said, I love the fact that Ubisoft keeps talking about the end game, and that's important because that has been prior to the last couple of Assassin's Creed, which the end game was bananas, great. Division 2, great. Looks like this one's going to be great. It looks like they understand that there were some missteps in some of the older titles, and they are addressing that, giving the players, because these are technically single player games that offer a co-op experience, but giving the players more to do once you're done with the main story, I think that's great. And I think they understand that. And that's what has me excited. That's why I think they're the best developer of this generation. But I want to move on to the next topic. Nintendo reveals their E3 2019 plans, including a new Nintendo Direct, and fans of the brand have a lot to look forward to, Salty. And of course, we're talking about me and you specifically, Nintendo, if he's in there, and anyone else is a Nintendo fan. Nintendo revealed their E3 2019 plans on Thursday, confirming that they will broadcast a new Nintendo Direct presentation on June 11th at 9 a.m. Pacific and 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to officially open this year's Gaming Expo. And I think that's great. They're going first. For E3 anyway. The company's announced 2319 lineup looks like this, Salty. It's going to include Super Mario Maker 2, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Astral Chains, which looks amazing, Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3. My God, what can't we say about that game? Dragon Quest 11S, Echoes of an Elusive Age. Wow, that is really a long title. Definitive Edition, no less. Animal Crossing for the Nintendo Switch, which is going to be big. Daemon X Machina, which I think is going to be dope. Luigi's Mansion 3, sign me the F up right now. Pokemon Sword and Shield, my goodness, that's going to be a freaking seller for them. And of course, the star jewel of Nintendo's crown, The Legend of Zelda's Link's Awakening, which is going to be massive. Finally, though, Nintendo will host a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate World Championship, which is going to be a 3v3, and a Splatoon 2 World Championship tournaments on Sunday, June 8th. And I think that is what I really love about Nintendo. They have their E3s, but they have these tournaments. Listen, Salty, this is a stellar lineup, regardless of whatever your feelings are for Nintendo. How excited are you for Nintendo's E3, and do we think we're going to get at least one or two surprises?
Oh, we're going to get some surprises, but man, if you look at this lineup, man, how can you not be impressed, man? Just pick out a couple of games that you would potentially like. That's what I'm saying. Like, everybody has their preferences in games and stuff like that. I'm cool with that. But people underestimate the Nintendo console, man. They kind of brush it off to the side and say, oh man, that's a kid's console, this and that. But man, there's just a lot of options there, man. Animal Crossing is going to be huge for them.
It is. Yeah.
Luigi's Mansion, huge. The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, huge.
Astral Chains looks amazing. It's a platinum game, by the way, folks.
Yeah, dude, that game looks amazing. And then plus Pokemon Sword and Shield. If you thought Smash Brothers did good, hold on to your pants,
hold the phone.
Dude. Yeah, because Pokemon Sword and Shield is gonna explode, dude. I'm telling you, man. So they're gonna have bundled consoles that's gonna be coming out during the holidays. Plus, the indie gamers in the chat, man, shout out to him. Go check his channel out. the amount of indie games that are outstanding on the Switch is second to none, dude.
Yes, I
All
agree.
right.
Yeah.
So if you want to get a good taste of like future indie games coming up, go check his channel up. He's doing very well. But yeah, so you smash all that together, and then you put into the fact that they're going to be doing the Super Smash Brothers championships. Nintendo is going to be second on my list next to Xbox, and plain and simply, I think these two are making the show for me, honestly. My hype level for both is just through the roof, and I think it's going to be outstanding for just gamers in general. And like I've said on previous shows, 2019 and beyond is the year of the Switch, man.
Yeah,
They just announced that the Switch has outsold the lifetime sales of the PlayStation 4 in 3 less years in Japan. That's huge, folks. You know what I'm saying? Sony's based out of Japan, and I understand there's a different culture there, but to outsell PlayStation in Japan in 3 less years is crazy. So yeah, I look forward to the surprises. I'm not sure what they will be, but yeah, on the totem pole of excitement level, Xbox is number 1 and Nintendo is number 2 for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I want to move on to the next topic. It's a bit of a head scratcher too. Netflix is going to E3 2019, and they're going to have a panel there. Today, well, actually not today. I think yesterday, an official Netflix Twitter account teased that the company will be attending E3 with a special panel. And they will have some game announcements, obviously. Now we we obviously who Netflix is. But they didn't really divulge any further details regarding gaming. They're obviously the streaming service that everyone wants to be, but this is funny. Here was their Twitter post, and they tweeted directly at the E3 2019 account, and it said, "Getting hype for hashtag E3 2019. Hey, at E3, can we get an invite?" And of course, the official EA of the E3 account responded, said, "Sure, just to hang, or do you guys have something you want to talk about?" Netflix responded, "We definitely want to hang, but we also have some gaming news in the works that we can talk about. How about a panel?" The official, they responded, "We think we can squeeze you in." So they're going to be there. What they're going to be showing, I don't know. Salty, you have any ideas of what they could show? I mean, they are the king of streaming movies. Are they going to start streaming games?
Man, I wouldn't be surprised, but I think it has to do with their IPs that they own, Stranger Things and some other things.
Yes.
Like that. So whatever games, because I know there's a Stranger Things game coming out. That's already been announced, but they have some good IPs there. They do have the Witcher series that's going to be coming out. So potentially they could show a trailer there. So they have a lot of things that's interconnected with subscription services and games and IPs and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised that they're going to be at E3, because everybody wants to be at E3 except for Sony. You know what I'm saying? So it is the biggest show. It's the Super Bowl of gaming. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Anybody that's saying otherwise is just trying to convince themselves as to why their company chose not to go there. All right. So just be hyped for it. I think it's going to be cool. We'll see what happens, though.
Yeah, well, listen, it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be really looking forward to it. I watch Netflix with my wife, Josette, almost every night. We're watching a movie. She's a big movie buff, so am I. So we do take advantage of the subscription that we pay for monthly. But I want to move on to the next topic, Salty. Big Rockstar news. Grand Theft Auto has shipped 110 million copies, and Red Dead Redemption 2 passes 24 million copies sold. My goodness, that is just 2 games over 134 million copies of 2 games. That's insane. When you start to see these kind of numbers, it makes you really sit back and understand how powerful and important Rockstar is to the gaming universe. And when you say Rockstar, people stop in their tracks. And there was some talk. There has been lots of talk, especially on Reddit, where GTA 6 is going to be a timed exclusive for the PS5. Folks, I am here to slice and dice that rumor to sushi. It's not going to happen. And the reason why, Salty, and you and we talk about it all the time, we're numbers guys. There is just going to be way too much money left on the table. And the sales of GTA 5, which continues to sell, a game that's 6 freaking years old, folks, okay? And still selling, might be 7 years now. And obviously, Rockstar is touting 24 million Red Dead Redemption 2. Salty, first of all, 2 questions. One, how impressed are you by both numbers of these 2 games? And more importantly, am I correct in saying that there would be just too much money left on the table for an exclusive to the PS5, even if it was only 30 days?
Yeah, man, I remember the news clear as day. Remember they're requiring PlayStation's going to inquire. It's just like, no, it's not happening. And then undercutting yourself doesn't make sense. These numbers are just staggering to me, man. The game came out in 2013, originally on the last gen consoles. So released on PlayStation 3 and 360 towards the end of that life cycle. Then they came out with newer versions with that first person mode. I remember that. So I bought the game like 3 or 4 times already myself.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising, but it is surprising. Like 110 million, what the hell? And the thing is like you could see they hit the MPD top charts consistently, and the game is 6 years old. It's like, it's insane what's happening there. So GTA 6 is not going to be coming out for a while, dude. They're not going to undercut their own products. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 took forever to make and put out, and it's selling very well based off of the numbers, right? So not only would you be undercutting GTA 5 sales, you'd be undercutting their the Red Dead Redemption 2 sales. So they need to let that kind of sit and sell, you know what I'm saying? And live its life cycle out. This game, GTA 6, is not going to be coming out for a long time, man.
Yeah, I agree.
2023 probably, you know what I'm saying? So they have other titles that they can put out there. What about the Bully game? There's some other stuff that they could put out. But yeah, we're not going to be seeing a GTA title for a while, you know?
Well, look, listen, regardless of when it comes out, it's going to be amazing, and it's going to sell. I can't believe I'm actually going to say this, but GTA 6 could actually sell more than GTA 5, if that's even possible. It's going to be a powerhouse, and it's not coming exclusive to the PlayStation 5. And I'm going to say something. If ruffles your feathers, I apologize, but Sony could not afford that deal. They would have to pay. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars to get that, to get a 30 or 6 month deal. They can't afford it. They can't. They're not Microsoft. I'm sorry. Okay, if that pisses you off, that is reality.
It wouldn't make sense financially for either companies.
Of course it wouldn't. It'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I want to move on to the next topic. I pulled this one this morning. Salty. Latest Square Enix financials suggest that Final Fantasy VII, the remake, and the Avengers project have been delayed past 2020, possibly into 2021. Yikes. Apparently Square Enix has some big news for its fans, and it's not good. Those have been watching the Square Enix financials know that this year's report for the financial of 2018 included the exceedingly positive midterm target forecast for 2020, by the way. And the company targeted 300 to 400 billion yen in net sales and the operating income to be of 40 to 50 billion yen, signaling massive growth due to the digital entertainment segment, according to the report. And this, of course, talking about their AAA games. After taking a quick look at the publisher's release calendar, though, it was easy to imagine that those sales to be a consequence of the company's 2 most anticipated titles being delayed in, of course, Final Fantasy VII and the Avengers project, which is in development by Crystal Dynamics with the help of Eidos Montreal. Salty, are you devastated by this news, and are the fans of these games even going to be even more disappointed?
Yeah, man. All I got to say is if you want a MCU, not an MCU, but a Marvel game, go buy a Switch, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, great
Like,
point.
here's the deal. Like, when is this game going to come out? When was it first teased? Is what I want to know. I remember
I think it was
it's been
3 years ago, dude.
it's crazy, and we haven't seen jack and shit from this. You know what I'm saying? So we haven't seen any gameplay. I remember them showing some like cap shield and like sparks going off of it and stuff like that. And I
Yes.
got
Yep.
excited, right? I got super excited, but like we literally haven't seen anything on this game, and it's a huge disappointment because man, I get super excited because I'm a comic book fan, I'm an MCU fan, I'm a Marvel fan. I just want to see this, but the company that's in control of it, man, it's not a surprise that it's delayed. Final Fantasy VII, man, what can you say about it? It is what it is, man. They're talking about episodic content and it's delayed again. It's just like, man, if you're, because personally, I'm not a Final Fantasy guy, but if I was, dude, I'd be salty as hell. You know what I'm saying? I would just be super disappointed that this has just been extended as long as it has. It's one of those. It's been stranded out there in the void, and people are just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. It's like Star Citizen. It's like you're waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah,
It's
that game's
just like
never
some
going
of
to
these
come
games
out.
just never
Yeah.
come out, man. So yeah, it's disappointing, man.
Well, listen, we're gonna close out the show with the last two topics. They're not big, but I found them at the last minute. I thought people in the chat might dig it. I definitely am. If you're a PlayStation VR fan, I am. I actually have version 2 of it with the HDR pass through. A new game was announced that you'll be able to play Rick Grimes in a Walking Dead game later this year, which is freaking awesome. The AMC has announced that the Walking Dead Onslaught is a PlayStation VR title based on the hit TV show, and it had me at hello. To be honest with you, I'm very excited for a Walking Dead VR title. But unlike most of the previous Walking Dead titles that haven't been good, I think this one is going to be excellent, and it's going to star several of the main characters from the show, including Daryl, Rick, Michonne, and Carol, as seen on the game's first poster. They did a very short, I don't know, it was like maybe a minute and a half teaser trailer showing the weapons, the iconic weapons of each character. And it's unclear at this time whether the original actors will be reprising their roles in basically doing the voiceovers. There's been no talk of that, but you are going to be playing as Rick Grimes and you're going to be interacting with the other characters. I think it looks dope. If you watch the video, it seems as if they're in a diner. Where you see Michonne's sword, you see Rick's gun, you see Daryl's bow, and you see Carol's knife. And I thought that was freaking dope. If you're a fan of the show and you have a PlayStation VR, I think this is going to be for you. Now, with that said, Salty, I know your take on VR is I get it. But is this a cool idea? And should fans that own a PlayStation VR like me be excited?
Yeah, VR is not really for me, but if you're a fan of The Walking Dead and you have a PlayStation VR, this is a no-brainer, man. For whatever reasons, a lot of the times with these Walking Dead games, you just don't get to play as the characters that were in the movie, in the show and in the comic book, especially Rick Grimes. And now I'm not going to spoil the show. I haven't been watching it, but he's just, it is what it is. You can't really see him anymore. So see him in VR, play as him. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think it's be good, man. I think VR fans are going to be digging it.
Well, it gives us something to do, use the system anyway. And last but certainly not least, we're going to close out the show in some awesome and positive Sony news. And this is big news for Ben Studios, makers of Days Gone. Salty, Days Gone has officially outsold God of War in Japan, and in other regions, it's doing fantastic, more specifically in Europe. And that's a huge hashtag win for both Sony, but more importantly, Ben Studios. Now, like I said, I have a big original topic that I wrote about regarding Ben Studios, and I was worried for them because Sony is notorious for closing studios that don't do well, or at least not working with them anymore. And I would be devastated. I think Ben Studios is a great studio. I think Days Gone is good. It has a tremendous amount of potential. But hearing this news, where God of War, I think, is just ridiculously awesome. the fact that it outsold God of War, which is what should have been my game of the year in 2018, is shocking to me. And according to some recently revealed sales data, Days Gone has already outsold the lifetime sales of God of War, Detroit Become Human, and The Last Guardian. And if this continues to perform at this rate, it will eventually pass Uncharted 4 and possibly Horizon Zero Dawn and Marvel's Spider-Man. Like I'm shocked. Like I don't get it. But you know what? These markets, each market is different and how they like these games. And Japan is really digging Days Gone. Salty, is this great news? And does this increase the chances for Ben Studios to basically fix what were their shortcomings in Days Gone 1 with a Days Gone 2?
First of all, this shows that Metacritic just doesn't mean too much. Second of all, it's interesting. The Japanese market is just kind of different. So I don't know if you can glean a lot of information from this when it comes to sales worldwide, because I don't know how they compare, but I do know that it's going to help the cause of Days Gone for sure. It's interesting that it would outsell all these stellar titles. Like God of War was game of the year. Horizon Zero Dawn was Game of the Year nominee, and then you got this game that had issues, and it's sitting at the lower end of the 70s on Metacritic. Like I said, this just shows people don't really give a shit about Metacritic. They'll buy what they want to buy, So I think it's just because zombies are kind of a genre that you can attach yourself to around the world. I think it's probably a popular genre over there. I think it's going to do well, and hopefully they'll be able to make a sequel and improve upon it. It's just kind of like one of those things, and I think it's not a game for me. I'm not personally interested in it, but I'm happy that it is successful and it's more than likely going to be continued.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I'm happy for Ben Studios because I was worried about them because obviously when it first came out, it was getting beat up. I'm playing through it. I have so many other games. I'll get back to it. It's just the grind is just, man, it's just too much. The leveling is just not good. I'm still using this. I'm 30 hours in. I'm still using the same AK-47 that I found in the first 2 hours of the game. Salty. It's just.
I've been hearing from a lot of people. They're like, man, once you get past that first 15 hours, that's when it picks up. I'm like, dude, if a game takes 15 hours for it to pick up, I'm putting it back. I'm taking it back to the store I bought it from. But anyway, if you like the game, that's cool. Enjoy it and stuff like that. But it's just not my thing,
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not for everybody. Like I said, I'm enjoying it. I don't know when I'm going to get back to it because, like I said, now that Rage 2 is out, I'm going to be all hands on deck for that. But anyway, this has been one hell of a show that went into overtime. So thank you for hanging around, chat. Thank you for hanging around, Salty. The chat was fantastic as usual. We had almost 150 people watching, which tells me that this particular program is growing. Salty, you and I put on a good show each and every week, both on your channel and mine. And I do ask the chat this on your way out, do two things for us. The more that you share this on social media, the bigger audience that we can get. That's number one. Number two, if you can hit the like button, that would be greatly appreciated for when it's playing on Salty's channel and, of course, mine. The likes help. It changes the algorithm on who sees these videos, and it really is our bread and butter, especially me, because I only do live content. So the more that the community helps, it is greatly appreciated. But Salty, you have some stuff coming up. You did a bunch of videos which were amazing on your channel, and you have a big show tomorrow night. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, tune in and subscribe to your channel.
Nick asked the question, Salty, is this your last podcast? Next week is going to be the last podcast for me for a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, I got my baby's due July 7th or 8th. My wife's having a C-section, so she's going to be out of it. My kid's on summer break, got some other things going on. So yeah, I'm going to be stepping away for a little bit here. Boom's going to get someone else on here. You guys should support the show as usual. In the meantime, it's just going to be more efficient for me to do just videos because I'm going to be able to do them when I can.
Yeah.
When I have time and stuff like that. But I love the show, and I like that we have momentum here. We had a great turning out here. So yeah, next week's going to be on my channel. Last week there, I put out a lot of videos this week. I did a video about the PlayStation 5 news. Like I said, the impressions video on Rage 2. The Saltiest Gaming podcast is tomorrow. We have Dealer coming on as a guest.
Nice,
and we're gonna be,
dude. That's a big get, dude.
yeah, we're going to be doing making an announcement of some shuffling with panel members. We're going to be announcing a new panel member. So stay tuned for all that great news coming up for the Saltiest Gaming podcast.
Yeah, that's really interesting, dude. Now I'm going to be tuning in. Sure, I mean I tune in already, but that's really interesting. And you know, I have been getting a lot of questions like Salty. You know, so first of all, Salty's leaving for family reasons, and I just want everyone to understand that he will be returning. We just don't know exactly when it is. He knows that he has my full support with his family. And whatever, how long it takes, regardless of whether it's 30 days, 60 days, or 3 months, Salty will continue in his regular spot. This show is not going anywhere. And Salty, I did find someone because, you know, obviously someone has to step in that's would be considered at your level because this is a fast-paced show that requires, unique timing. And I'll make the announcement now because you were talking about it. So Shady is going to be stepping in the temporary chair to cover for Salty while he takes care of his beautiful wife and their newborn, as well as his daughter. And as soon as he's ready to come back, he has already said that he will gladly step aside to allow Salty back in. He said he's going to keep the chair nice and toasty for him. So yes, we do have a replacement that is going to be happening after next week. Salty is going to be honestly truly missed because he is my brother and we enjoy working with each other. But I say family first every time. And of course, this show will continue when, obviously in his absence, and when he returns, he will be back in that chair. Salty, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. I want to thank everybody again. 100 and almost 150 people watching, which is crazy, Salty. I mean, those are crazy numbers. 20 plus topics was amazing. And listen, folks, again, two more live shows coming for Double Barrel Gaming in the form of the Xbox Factor podcast with the Welsh Gamer who was in the chat. I'm going to be talking to him in a little bit through DMs. We'll get all the show notes put together for that. And then, of course, Friday morning's Breakfast with Boom. I have an incredible panel. I'm going to make an announcement who's going to be on the show. And we will see you next week on the newest episode of Gaming News at Noon with Salty and Boom. And, of course, that will be on Salty's YouTube channel. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your lunch. Take care. Be nice to one another. And we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.